Hello, it's Jennifer Savari, and today I'll show how I made this freestanding egg. And I made this with an Easter brunch table in mind. The little legs were made from snowflake branches that I bent, and it's actually a very sturdy base. I'm also going to show some inlay techniques that I did for these layers. Using the Fiori Eggs layer B and C, see how there's those little marquees with dots on layer C? Those are hidden behind layer B. So I'm going to inlay those over top so that they're shown. I'll show you how. And then the stitched egg set, the largest of the set, makes the perfect background. And then it's not time to put away snowflakes quite yet because the glitz layer B makes the perfect base. I cut the largest egg with this vintagey gold, and the layer C was cut out of a smooth gold cardstock. And I'm carefully removing the little center marquee with the little dots. Remember, we're going to use that to show through on that top layer. And so I need to save those little pieces so that I can overlay them. So I'm using a holographic paper, and I found the center of where I want my pattern to be. And then there's also a little hole right in the center of that little flower. And so I'm lining those two up just using my poker tool, and I'm just feeling the little notch I created, and then I tape it down and am able to die cut it that way. And that creates a really nice symmetry with that pattern. Then I cut out kind of a purple backing that would match out of that large egg again. Okay, I'm going to slow this down for just a second here. I'm tracing the little dots for a little pattern to show me where to cut a circle out of the base layer. Now I'm doing this because I don't want to create another layer when adding the solid gold behind the flower. I just wanted to inlay it. So I needed to know where to cut that, and then I needed to cut a little piece of the solid gold to go behind it. It may not make sense yet, but it will here in just a second, so hang with me. So here I am just getting that all matched up, making sure that it's good coverage there, and then I just glue it all down. The dots aren't going to be shown through, but the marquees will. So I just want to make sure that there was no empty space there. And once that little base layer is put together, I can just glue that top layer over top. And then you can see that I've got the solid gold behind the flower, and the rest was that vintagey gold. Next, while that was under some weight to dry, I just went ahead and glued on the marquees and the little dots. And I really thought that those just added so much, and I love that that base layer can be used alone like that, but in this case I just really wanted them to be seen, so this is how I did that. And I did put that under some weight to dry for just a little bit. Once all the pieces were good and adhered, I then glued the holographic layer to the base gold layer. And it was now that I was starting to really be able to see all those different layers come together, and it really creates a lot going on there that's just works beautifully together. And then I put it under some weight to dry once again. And then once that's set up for just a little bit, I went in with my sharp stylus tool. I'm not sure what this tool is called, but I just kind of penciled in some leaves there, and the gold is just soft enough that it was just very simple to do. And this is the result that you get from that. So I did do some inlaying over the gold. I didn't want to inlay the flower, but I wanted to inlay some of the other pieces that were part of the egg. I liked that flower sitting back in as the very base layer. But this created kind of a neat look with some of those other little elements that create this. And so that's what I'm doing here, is just kind of overlaying some gold pieces that I saved from the die cut. So I cut out 2.5 snowflakes. I should have cut out 3. You'll see why here in a second. But I wanted to show how when I bent the little snowflake stems to create the base, when that's flipped over, it shows the backing of the cardstock. And that's something that I didn't want to show. And so to cover those up, I just cut off the stems from another snowflake and glued those on. Anytime I've glued on a piece to a piece and then tried to fold it, that doesn't work very well. And so I didn't want there to be 2 layers glued together and folded. So that's how I did that, and I put it under some weight to dry. Now while that was drying, I cut off 2 more snowflake stems and glued one to the front of the holograph page and then one to the back. And that little opening matches perfect with the egg. And so that's a perfect spot to put that. And that's going to be our little connector from the egg to the base. And then you'll see me here just folding it. See, that's a L-shaped fold there. And then that's going to be glued on. I did trim off the little edges and glued onto the base. Now this is where, if I was just using cardstock and not this gold, it would stand up just fine. I did a test egg before I did this one, and I had no problems. Because this gold cardstock is maybe a little thinner and more pliable, I did have to put in a reinforcement. Now here I am just letting it dry in an upright position, but it wouldn't stand by itself. And so I made a second cut, and this is what it looks like. And that second cut is just going to go over top of the very top and base of what I just put together. And that reinforces it just perfectly, and this will stand just fine. The difference between my tester and this one is that I cannot fold this one up to put into a card. The other one could be folded, that base could be folded in on itself and mailed. So this is a very simple little decoration to make, but I understand that, you know, sometimes these things are hard to explain. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave a note in the comments below. I read every comment that I get, and I'm happy to help however I can. You can see here it's really stable. I shook my table to show you that. So thanks again for stopping by. Thank you for subscribing to everybody who is subscribed to my channel. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you again soon.